Hey guys, hope you're well. In today's video, I just want to run you through the perfect product card on Shopify. Here is a very simple product card layout, and I want to show you some other types of product card layouts that we can implement on your Shopify store, and why one option might be better than the other, some of the different elements that you can include, and so on and so forth. If you don't know who I am, my name is Nail. I'm the founder of Creative E-commerce. I've worked as a Shopify developer for like 6 or 7 years at this point. I've worked with some of the biggest Shopify Plus brands in the world. I've also worked with startups and literally everything in between. I now run my own CRO agency specializing in Shopify, where we work with brands, helping them increase their conversion rates, their average order value, improve their user journey, etc., through clever design optimizations on their Shopify store. So just to get started with, what is a product card? A product card is very simply just a card that showcases your product. You will usually see these inside of carousels on the homepage like we're looking at now, and also on the collection pages as well, although they will pop up in some other places. Like for example, in a bundle builder, you might see a product card. Similarly, inside of like blog articles and things like that, you might see like a product carousel at the end of it. So they do pop up in other places, but predominantly you're going to see a product card on the homepage or the collection page. Now, the basic structure is going to be essentially a product image, and then you'll have the product title, maybe some text beneath it, and then you'll have a CTA. Now, you won't always have a CTA, and this is one thing I do want to touch on, is that aesthetically, having a CTA maybe doesn't always look the best, but we will usually err towards having a CTA on product cards and not having them, just because if you have a CTA there for a quick add to cart, someone might still add the product to the cart without visiting the product page. As a general rule of thumb, we want to reduce the amount of clicks it takes the user to get into the checkout. If I have to click onto a product card in order to get to the product page to then add a product to the cart, that's an additional click. Whereas if I have a very nice and simple, if we make one here, add to cart CTA, that just sits inside of the product card, then that makes it very easy for me as a consumer to just come in and add to cart here. So that's the first thing that we would usually add to product cards, although again, aesthetically it doesn't always fit. Sometimes brands don't want to have it, and that's fine. Not a lot of your traffic, especially if you're only selling a handful of products and they're quite artisan and people want to find out more about the products, are going to add the cart from the product cards, but it is usually better to have an add to cart CTA there than not have it. Now, in addition to that, you want to think of, what can I advertise, what can I showcase, what can I tell people about my product through the product card? And I have some examples here which I think are quite good. If I go back to Fable and Main, who's a brand, I worked with these guys a couple of years back now, and I've always liked the website and the design of the website. Some of the things that you can do on a product card is you can introduce badges, and you can see Fable and Main does a great job of that. So you've got the new badges here, but you've also got bestseller, and you've also got free gift badge here. You might argue that these could be more or less prominent. You can change the shapes, you can change the colors, etc., to fit your brand and how aggressive you want to be with the badging. But just be aware that badging is really useful on product cards. I can highlight, in this case, they're on all the products, but if you want to highlight one specific product, you can have that badge there. Just say it's a new product or a best-selling product, or they get something free with the product, or they get free shipping with the product, or the product is low in stock, or it's a limited run product. Like, it could be anything really, but just put it inside of that badge. That would encourage people to click on that, increase the click-through rate on that product card. Now, you can also see here that in addition to the title, we also have the price, and we have the review stars as well. So regarding price, you do always want to include that on product cards. You'll see in some of these product cards it says from. So for example, it says from $38 US. Now, the reason why you want to have from is if you have multiple variants. And so if you have multiple variants, for example, if you sell a product in different sizes or different colors, and those different sizes or different colors are different prices, then typically you want to start with the cheapest variant, because it comes across as the cheapest product essentially. So in this case, it will say from $38. Now if I click on this, there's so there's the original 55, which is $38, whereas if I go jumbo, then that's going to be $56. So that's the type of situation where you would say from cheapest price, someone clicks on it, if they want the more expensive one, they can upgrade to that. Also keeping in mind that we do also want those review stars there as well. And of course, Fable and Main does have the add to bag buttons, which I did talk about previously. Now I want to showcase a much more minimalist style of product card, and this is from Space Goods. I haven't worked with Space Goods personally, but I have worked with Dirty, who are in the same niche as these guys. Now, a lot of people really love Space Goods website, and they have done a lot of CRO optimization on the store, which the founder actually documented on Twitter. A lot of interesting reads that he's put up there if you guys do want to check it out. On desktop, you have this hover effect where the product image changes. So you go from kind of like a a image showcasing the product to kind of an infographic, which is like more the type of thing you see on Amazon. This is a really good thing to set up on desktop. On mobile, hover effects don't really work that well. When you click on it, sometimes it will change, but like typically you can't hover with your finger and that gets picked up by the device. So hover effects are usually better on desktop. In terms of the rest of the product card here, though, there's not that much going on. You'll notice they don't have the add to cart buttons. There are no review stars. They do have the price, and they have a strike through price here, but the strike through price hasn't been highlighted in any way. It's a little bit easy to miss. Really, what sells this here is the color and the quality of the imagery. I would argue that they might see some improvement by highlighting the strike through pricing, making that a little bit clearer, and maybe adding some benefits here as well. That might encourage users to click on one product versus the other, but fundamentally what's selling people here is basically the colors, the presentation, and maybe some of the information inside of the infographic, although I think it's probably going to be a little bit hard to see all that information on the product card itself. And then I'll show you guys Dirty here as well. So if I shut this over here, we have Dirty's product cards. And you can see here that what Dirty does really well, this is another one of my past clients, they actually highlight the benefits of the product just below the product title. So you have the beauty stack over here, right? And we have those hover effects again where it shows a different image, but then underneath that it says hair, skin, and beauty. And so if you're interested in something to make yourself look nicer, something for your skin, your hair, etc., this seems like a good product for you. You also have this part here which kind of highlights the free gifts, or like how good of a deal it is essentially. So in this case, gifts worth £34, over here £25, over here £59. People who are more bargain oriented, people who are trying to get the best deal possible, are attracted to these types of things, and that's part of the reason why over here I might recommend they do a bit more with the strikes for pricing rather than just having a grey before price. That's a little bit easy to miss. And then of course you have the add to cart button, which is great, but what Dirty does on top of that is have the view product button. And so sometimes people might want to know more about the product, especially for these types of products, because it's multiple products inside of a stack. They might want to find out more about the product. And so they have the view product button CTA over here, but you don't have to click on that if you're just confident enough to add to cart. You'll also notice that you have the from price here again. So if I click on this, there's probably some different sizes. If I go to one-time purchase, okay, so in this case there's not different sizes, but there's the subscription option or the or the one-time purchase option. And this is really clever because you always want, I'm going in a little bit into the product page here, but you always want the subscribe option to be pre-selected, just because you want to introduce some friction for someone to not subscribe to your product, because subscription customers are usually worth more than one-time purchasing customers. But this is really clever because they put in that before price is £57, and then if you add that to the cart, I'm assuming it will default to adding, yes, the subscribe and save one. They double check with you first. If you've got to add it a second time, then that goes into the cart. So it's really just pushing you down that subscription route, which again is better for the business because it's recurring revenue. So these are a few different types of product cards here. If I switch back just for a second, again, this is the basic structure of a product card. We want to have that add to cart button at some point. I'd say that we do definitely want review stars in there. If I get rid of this for a second, we want to add in some review stars. This is bothering me a little bit. Let me just pull up some review stars here. There we go. So if I get rid of this and make this a little bit smaller, we want to add in some review stars here as well. And then what we can start to do, as I mentioned, is we can add in some benefits here also, right? So let me make this a little bit smaller. I am doing a very terrible job with this right now, but hopefully you guys can see what I'm getting at. So you'll have the product title, the product image, the product title, the review stars, add some benefits just below that. So these can be like check marks. It doesn't really have to be anything in particular, but checks do work quite well here. So we can have something a little like this, and if I make that a little bit smaller and duplicate that, so you'll have like different checkboxes here, and then those will have benefits besides them. So you'll have, you know, this does X, Y, and Z, it has this many reviews, it's called this, here's a nice image of the product, maybe with a hover effect, and then the price should be around here as well. And for the price, we can also have the straight through pricing also. Important thing with straight through pricing, like I was saying on space goods, is if I pull something over here, let's say the before price is like, let's say it's $99. For that before price, I might highlight it and then put a strike through there. So you see, it's quite clear that that's $99. And then let's say the after price is going to be, let's say $50 or $49, let's say. That would then be black. and let's make that a little bit bigger as well. And then what you can do as well is just make it clear how much people are saving. And a good rule of thumb here is that if it's a small amount of money, so like less than $100, then you want to highlight this as a percentage. Whereas if it's more than $100, you can highlight it as a dollar amount. So in this case, you might want to add a badge here as well. Let me do a sales badge. Something like this. Obviously, you know, this would be matched to the aesthetic of your website. For some websites this might look quite tacky, so we wouldn't want to do this too much, but for other websites it will fit right into the aesthetic, especially if you are selling cheaper products. So in this case it would be like 50% off. Let me get rid of the strike through and make that a little bit smaller here. There we go. So it'd be something like that. I don't love this badge. Let me use this one. So then that way people are kind of aware of how much they're saving rather than having to do the maths in their head, because as we know, a lot of people aren't great at maths. So you've got your 50% off there. Something like this would be inside of the product card, and then that way you really beef up your product card to be fairly good at selling the product before the user has even clicked on the product card. You can imagine the difference between, you know, looking at a very plain product card, like something like this, which, not saying it doesn't work, you know, Space Goods does great, but I think there's some room for improvement here, versus looking at a product card like this, where people are getting the benefits of the product, they're getting a good price here, 84p per serving. That's a very similar concept to introducing the percentage off discount, and then also seeing how much free stuff they get per product or per stack, and also introducing the view product button alongside the add to cart button, and some of the other things there as well, like having review stars, having the from price, and so on and so forth. The hover effects as well, as we've seen on desktop over and over again. So these are all things that you guys can do to improve your product cards, hopefully increase click-through rates on those product cards, and hopefully pre-sell people a little bit better before they get to the product page, so you can generate more revenue through your Shopify store just by making it look a little bit nicer and tell your product story a little bit better. Appreciate your time today. If you guys have any questions, just drop them in the comments. Check out the links in the description if you do want any of our free stuff or would like to book a call with us, and wishing you guys all the best. Thanks for listening.